Welcome to Johar Fi Samachir Syllabus of Tamil Nadu. Class 10 Economics, Lesson 2, Part 2, Globalization and Trade. Globalization in India. In India, the period after 1980 and 81 was marked by severe balance of payment difficulties. What is the meaning of balance of payment? The difference between the value of export and the value of import is called as balance of payment. When the value of exports are more than the value of imports, we call it as a favorable balance of trade. But if the imports are more than the exports, it's definitely going to be an unfavorable balance of trade. So during the period of 1980 and 81, India experienced a severe balance of payment difficulties, and it was mainly due to hike in oil price, which was a result of Gulf War in 1990-91 and hostilities in West Asia. That is, there was a situation of unfriendliness and warfare prevailed between the countries of West Asia. When the new government took over in June 1991, India had unprecedented balance of payment crisis. With the downgrading of India's credit rating. What is this credit rating? That is our ability to pay back the debt. It is called as credit rating. But the credit rating of India was underestimated by the international agencies, and there was heavy flight of capital out of India. Since India lost its credit worthiness in the international market, the government mortgaged, that is, the government borrowed 40 tons of gold to the Bank of England. Under these circumstances, the government for 1991-92 presented its budget in July 1991 with a series of policy changes which underlined globalization, liberalization, and privatization. This has come to be called as India's new economic policy. These policies were strengthened when India signed the Dunkel Draft in 1994. And towards the end of this lesson, we will be learning about this Dunkel Draft in detail. Now let us see what is the reasons for this balance of payment deficit. Too much foreign borrowing and improper fiscal discipline. What is fiscal discipline? It refers to a state of an ideal balance between revenues and expenditure of government in an economy. If the fiscal discipline is not maintained, then the government expenditure exceeds government receipts. Rise in import bills of the government, low confidence of international business community, and the continuous assassination of the two prime ministers of India resulted in the political instability in the country. And it makes the country to lose its confidence. The economics crisis 1991 and 92 was due to, at that time, the debt of India, the extended debt of India was $83.8 billion. And the current account deficit was $1.78 billion. And we had only $1.2 billion of foreign exchange reserve. And the GDP growth was very low to the level of 5.49%. And the inflation, that is the increase or rise in the prices of most of the goods and services of daily or common use such as food, clothing, housing, recreation, transport, etc. was 13.88%. What were the reforms made to adopt globalization? That is the new economic policy in India. Abolition of industrial licensing except for a very few industries. Reduction in the number of industries reserved for public sector. So the public sector was reserved only for very important things like oil, natural gas, coal, etc. And before we had insurance, communication, everything was under the public sector, but those are open for privatization. Fixation of a realistic exchange rate of rupee to exchange exports of Indian goods. Foreign private sector by making rupee convertible on trade, on current account, and by reducing import duties. Foreign exchanges regulations were suitably amended. The statutory liquidity ratio was reduced to increase lending by RBI. And the statutory liquidity ratio, it means in India, the statutory liquidity ratio is the government term for the reserve requirement that commercial banks are required to maintain in the form of cash, gold reserve, public sector undertaking bonds, and Reserve Bank of India approved securities before providing credit to the customers. That is called as statutory liquidity ratio. Now let us see about the MNCs, that is multinational corporations. What are multinational corporations? It is a corporate organization which owns or controls production of goods or services in at least one country other than its home country. And there are so many MNCs in India in different fields like automobile, chemicals and pharmaceuticals, mining, trading, oil and natural gas, auto components, power, miscellaneous, telecom and consumer goods. And these are all the various MNCs in India. The evolution of MNC. The rise of the multinational corporations. The reason for the rise is in search of more raw materials and in search of the markets for the goods produced and the minimized cost of production. Like the East India Company, which came as a trading company and then became politically dominant, these MNCs first started their activities in extractive industries or control raw materials in the host countries during 1920s and then slowly entered into the manufacturing and service sectors after 1950s. Most of the MNCs at present belong to the four major exporting countries like USA, UK, France, and Germany. And of course, USA is the largest MNC. 11 of the 15th largest multinationals are Americans. Growth of MNCs in India. A common form of MNC participation in Indian industry is through entering into cooperation with Indian industrialists. Trends of liberalization in 1980s gave a substantial spurt to foreign collaborations. That is, the sudden increase or the speed of increase is called a spurt to foreign collaborations. This would be clear from the fact that of the total 12,760 foreign collaboration agreements signed between 1948 and 1988. As a result of liberalized foreign investment policy announced in July-August 1991, there has a further spurt of foreign collaborations and increased flow of foreign direct investment. And why these people, they chose India? India had huge chance for huge market growth, this FDI policies, fast growing economy, and the liberalization policy introduced in India. Reasons for the growth of MNC. The first one is expansion of market territory. As the operations of large-sized firms expand, it seeks more and more extension of its activities beyond the physical boundaries of the country in which it is incorporated. That is, the growth of GDP and per capita income in various countries led to increasing demand for goods and services. Companies in developed economies expand their operations overseas to exploit the expanding markets abroad. And marketing superiorities. Enjoy marketing superiorities over the national firms. If the MNCs enjoy market reputation, faces less difficulty in selling its products, and it adopt more effective advertising and sales promotion techniques. Multinationals enjoy the following marketing superiorities: availability of more reliable and up-to-date information about market conditions, reputation in the market due to popular brands and images, more effective advertising and sales promotion techniques, wide distribution network, quick transportation and warehousing facilities. Then financial superiorities. It has financial resources and high level of funds utilization. It has easier access of external capital markets. Its international reputation enables it to raise more international resources. Multinationals are financially superior to domestic companies in the following respects: huge financial resources, more effective and economical utilization of funds through transfer of excess funds from one country to another, easy access to foreign capital markets, easy mobilization of high quality resources of different types, access to international banks and financial institutions. Next comes technological superiorities. Underdeveloped countries encourage MNCs to participate in their industrial development because of the technological superiorities which these firms possess as compared to national companies. Multinationals have strong R&D, that is research and development departments. They can invent and innovate new products and processes more easily and frequently. This provides them an edge over national companies. Developing countries invite multinationals for advanced technology due to the following reasons. Developing countries do not have the resources to develop advanced technology and the level of industrialization is low. They are unable to exploit their rich mineral and other natural resources due to shortage of funds and low-level technology. They do not have adequate foreign exchange reserves to import raw materials, capital equipment, and technology on their own. They face difficulty in marketing their products in highly competitive and world markets. The next one is product innovation. MNCs have, as I said earlier, research and development engaged in the task of developing new products and superior designs of existing products. And these are the Indian multinational companies with their headquarters, type of industries, and the countries in which they are operating. For example, this Bajaj, its headquarters in Pune, and it is an automobile industry, and it has its operations in United Arab Emirates and Bangladesh. The top 10 largest multinational companies in India, according to 2018, are Sony Corporation, Hewlett Packard, that is HP, Tata Group, Microsoft Corporation, IBM, Intel, Procter & Gamble, Citigroup, Pepsi, and Coca-Cola Company. Now let us see the advantages of multinational corporations. The multinational corporations, since they produce the same quality of goods at lower cost and without transaction cost, it is able to produce huge products or the huge quantity of products at minimum cost. They reduce the prices and increase the purchasing power of consumers worldwide. So when the cost of the product is low, naturally it increases the purchasing power of the consumers. And MNC is able to take advantage of tax variation that is prevailed in different countries. The spurring, that is the encouragement of job growth in the local economies. It provides employment opportunities. Multinational company are specialized, fast growing and dynamic. So they offer growth opportunities for domestic industries. These companies assist local producers to enter global markets through their well-established international network of production and marketing. Now let us see the disadvantages of MNCs. They are a way for the corporations to develop a monopoly. Actually, what is monopoly? A product which does not have, or a field which does not have a close substitute is called as monopoly. For example, you can take Indian Railways. Indian Railways are run only by the government or public sector undertaking, and there is no other option for us to travel through any private railway undertakings. And other examples we can call the DBS Diamond. Some products, they do not have any close substitute, and that is called as monopoly. They are also a detrimental, that is, they have or they cause injurious effect on the environment. The introduction of MNC into a host country's economy may lead to the downfall of smaller local business. And this MNCs breach ethical, that is the moral standards, accusing them of evading ethical laws and leveraging their business agenda. Leveraging means the profit they earn in a particular country, and that profit or fund may not be used for the purpose it has earned. It may be used for some other purpose. That is called as leveraging their business agenda with capital. And these are all the disadvantages of MNCs. And let us see about the GATT and the World Trade Organization in the next class. If you find this episode very useful to you, like my video, comment about it, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.